meeting is April 13th, 4 p.m., and that is a Zoom-only meeting. Carrie, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
There is nobody in the room. If anybody is on Zoom and they would like to give public comment, please raise your hand or unmute yourself.
And for anyone in the room, if you would like to provide public comment, you may do so at this time. We also have an additional public comment session at the end of our regular scheduled meeting. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through I.
All right, any questions or comments? Commissioner Briscoe?
Bobby, you're muted.
Yes. G.
G, okay.
I was wondering, maybe Rob can fill us in on what's going on with, we've got a new container lease going on down there?
Okay, I don't think it'll take that long.
I'll let Terry comment on that.
Yeah, maybe 15 minutes at the most.
Thank you, Rob. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Terry Lahi, Property Manager. These are actually 3 renewals of existing agreements we have. One is for the Selkie Scoop, one is for the Sunnyland e-bikes, and one is for the filling station. So basically it renews the lease for approximately 5 years and then adds them a renewal term for another 5 years.
Okay, so those folks, there's no new folks in, those folks have been there.
Correct.
All right, very good. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
And Terry, while we have you, when do we expect operations to resume for our tenants at the Container Village?
We anticipate they're going to start picking up in May, early May.
So
Carrie was shaking her head. Maybe there's Carrie just have a different answer.
So Selkie Scoop and Colshan Brewery is opening on the 5th
Of April?
of May.
Of May.
And then April 1st, the other container tenants are going to start opening up part-time. It's spring break and they want to get the business. So they don't have an exact schedule, but they are opening up the 1st of April.
Okay, great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Carrie.
Commissioner Briscoe, was there anything else for you?
No, that's all, Commissioner Shepard. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Bell, any questions or comments?
Sorry, I'm not used to this. No, I have none. You were, as long as you address the scheduling change.
Yes. Carrie and I just discussed it, so I'll bring that up as a clarification for item C. We had discussed our April meeting. Item C covers our May meeting, but our April meeting is regularly scheduled for the 11th. And it was actually never scheduled for the 18th. There was a little bit of confusion, but it is scheduled for the 11th. Carrie might want to provide a little bit of clarification for me.
So in the January meeting in other business, I was asked by Executive Director Rob Fix to make a motion to change it from April 18th to the 11th because there was a conflict with an airport meeting that Rob and Commissioner Bell were attending. So the April meeting, just for clarification, is scheduled for April 11th.
Thanks, Carrie. Perfect.
Anything else, Commissioner Bell?
Nope, that's what we wanted to hear. Thanks.
Okay. And I don't have any questions or comments myself, so we'll move to vote.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through I.
Commissioner Bell?
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe?
Yes.
And Commissioner Shepard's a yes as well. Carries 3-0. That concludes our consent agenda. We are now going to recess the public meeting and open a public hearing to amend the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. We have a presenter, Greg McHenry.
Let's go back. Good evening, Commissioners. Greg McHenry, Senior Planning Analyst for the Port of Bellingham. I'm pleased to present the 2023 update to our comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements, also known as SeaShip. The changes to SeaShip in 2023 include incorporating the strategic budget for 2023. And also some real property transactions. We had real property transactions in the waterfront district where we sold an additional 20 feet by 110 feet, about 2,000 square feet to Harcourt, as well as the parcel to Mercy Housing, which was the former Lignin site. And then we also sold property up in Sumas. We acquired about 6,000 square feet out at the airport, which was former I-5 highway property right-of-way in relation to the runway safety area project last year. And then we also acquired 742 Marine Drive recently. In relation, as it relates to...
Can I stop and ask, can I ask a quick question? Can you share the screen?
Oh, sure. Did I fail to do that?
I have glasses, but they're not quite that magnification.
Mister, you may have to change your view. So instead of viewing a gallery view, you want to view a presenter view. Up in your upper right corner, you'll see a speaker and a gallery view. If you change that to speaker, that should get you to the podium.
Okay.
Okay, in regard to 742 Marine Drive, the closing on that property did not quite line up with my public notice, so the draft plan that was noticed, the link that was provided into the notice, did not contain any write-up or paragraph in it regarding 742 Marine Drive. So staff, I plan to work with Elliot's team and we'll write something up and we will have, before the commission takes action on the update to SeaShip, provide that for your review. But the plan is to go ahead and update SeaShip for that acquisition now. That acquisition included approximately 6 acres, 5.9 acres, a total of 9 buildings, 80,000 square feet, over 70 hoists, 2 and 3 ton hoists, and 240 volt 3-phase power. I believe the plan is to add it to our portfolio of real estate assets and keep leasing it as industrial property. Next year's SeaShip updates, we can include incorporation of next year's budgets. Additional property transactions are anticipated both in the waterfront district and additional sales in Sumas. This year, we are in the process of updating our recreation, conservation, and public access plan, so there will be plenty of opportunities for the public to participate and comment on that. and that would be updated next year. In addition, I know the commission's been working with staff and we'll be having some discussions regarding our climate action policy. And there is a place in our comprehensive scheme to relay those to the public as well. So we anticipate adding those next year. The next steps in this update process will be reviewing the public comments received, and then commission action is anticipated on April 11th. And the purpose of the public hearing is to solicit public comment on the draft plan. So if anybody would like to comment or has reviewed that, please feel free to do so now.
Okay, we'll accept any public comments for our comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements plan, either from our listeners on Zoom or from anyone in the room.
Greg, can I ask where you are going out for public comment?
It is under SEPA, it is currently out for comment right now.
What do you use to advertise that? And I'm sorry I'm not there.
For advertising SEPA comments, we use the SEPA registry through the state.
Okay.
And for just regular public comment, it's through the Bellingham Herald.
And are we getting many?
We've received 2 comments on SEPA to date, one from our tribal partners, the Lummi Nation, and they basically said they have no comment, but they do wish to keep informed on a project-by-project basis as they get constructed. And then from DNR, our partners at DNR for projects on port-managed, state-owned property, that they always like to remind us that this does not constitute notice under PMA requirements, and that those individually have to be notified on a project-by-project basis as well.
And Greg, can the public provide comment to you in any other format?
Yes, and in particularly, especially when we get the Sea Ship updated with 742 Marine Drive, they can email me at gregm@portofbellingham.com. And the revised Sea Ship will be on our website.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Seeing no public comments, are there any comments or questions from either of the commissioners? Commissioner Bell?
I kind of jumped the gun. No, I've asked mine, thanks.
That's great. Commissioner Briscoe?
No, very thorough job Greg does, so thank you, and do not have any questions.
Okay. Anything else, Greg?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, I will close the public hearing on the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements and resume our public meeting. Our next item is presentations, and we're going to start out with an annual SBDC update, and we have Don Goldberg.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Don Goldberg, Director of Economic Development. I'm here to introduce the SBDC team, CJ Seitz, the Executive Director, and a couple of the members of her team to give their annual update on their services. So, CJ?
Thanks, Don.
Just move through here.
Yeah, you bet. Good afternoon, CJ Seitz, Western Washington University Small Business Development Center. So we're here today to talk about our 2022 activities and also to talk about some of the trends we're seeing with our clients. So our overall mission is to increase the economic vitality of the regions that we serve, advancing our local economy by growing our existing businesses and helping new businesses start smart. And primarily we do that through one-on-one confidential business counseling. And here is our team of certified business advisors, along with Laura at the end there, and she keeps us all together. She's our program specialist. So with me here today is Ash Ryder, and Ash has been with us for 4 years. She originally came in on a rural development grant, and she's been spectacular working with Greater Whatcom County. And Dr. Liliana Deck has been with us since August. Her background is in engineering with an MBA and a PhD in multicultural studies. And she joined us to help us engage all members of our community. And she'll be talking a little bit too. So the client profile for 2022, we sat down and had one-on-one confidential business counseling with 447 clients. And then we supported another 250 clients, or not clients, just people who would call in, and then we could answer their questions right away, or maybe they were referred to a different organization. This number's particularly high this year because of responding to the flood. Ash was out in the field talking to people right after the disaster, and we did not require them to fill out paperwork. We just took some tallies of numbers there. So that is why that number is a little bit higher this year. Our work supports over 2,000 jobs in the community, and with the businesses with a total sales of over 155 million. So I thought I'd start out with some trends because it really does couch our work. So these are some of the things that we're seeing in our clients. The first is a pandemic leap. We're seeing a lot of newcomers starting new businesses. And so a lot of people were home thinking about maybe how they want their lives to be different. And a lot of them started in the gig economy. And so maybe they have some extra income to take that leap. But we're seeing a lot of people start new businesses and just have a lot of ideas coming in that they're tossing around. So that's been fun. We see labor shortages. This is no news to anybody. And that's something that we don't see easing up really in the short term. You know, as newer generations coming in, monetizing in ways that we could have never dreamed of monetizing at their age. And also, they're just not as attracted to traditional jobs. And then also some of that gig economy. But, you know, this is something that we're all working on, but that is a huge challenge for our clients. The operating environment, so you have that increased cost of doing business in general. We talked about the labor and then the inputs, commodities. You know, everything's costing more. And then the supply chain, we honestly thought that would be better by now, so it's slowly improving. But this is how this really affects our businesses. If they haven't innovated by now, they're probably not in business anymore. So this affects our businesses. They have to be diligent, reviewing their financials constantly, making sure that the increased costs that they're passing on to their consumer, right? Because that's about the only way they're going to survive. So working with them a lot. Leadership adaptation. So again, the knowledge workers and workers have a lot of power right now, and a lot of them are wanting to work from home, a lot of wanting to work hybrid, or some people just want to be in the office all the time. So how do you manage in this environment? So we're doing a lot of coaching of managing in these environments. It's upskilling for everybody involved. And we've talked about the silver tsunami, older workers leaving the workforce. And so that hasn't changed. And that's not changed with small business. So we're doing lots of buy-sell work, which is great because we want to retain good, solid businesses in our community. This is our mix of...
Can I ask you a question real quick? The silver tsunami and the impact on buying and selling, are you seeing an increase in selling or an increase in buying?
Yeah,
because of that silver tsunami?
Yeah, I have a chart that, in fact, I'm going to show you probably in just a couple minutes here about the increase that we're seeing. It's on the up again.
Okay,
okay.
I'll wait.
Good, thanks. Okay, this is a mix of the industries we serve, and we generally follow the demographics that are located in the community. Except for this year, we worked with a lot of retail, and that's not shocking to us because, again, of that constant needing to be really diligent on your financial situation. Our areas of counseling, we've seen two shifts the last year. One was the amount of financial work we did. So we did less loan packaging or equity work. Our theory on that is that because there's a lot of money coming into businesses in different ways. And we've seen an uptick in buy-sell and then an uptick in the startup. And here we go, buy, sell. I think that was Commissioner Bell that was speaking. And here's the trends that we're seeing. And so there's an uptick again in our clients. So we assisted 75 clients to buying or selling. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
No, the question is, are you seeing that the silver tsunami is creating more people in advanced years selling their businesses to younger?
Oh.
Is that the trend?
I don't know about the demographics. I'm not really sure about if we see a trend in the demographics and who's particularly buying. That I'm going to talk to you about one case today where it is a younger person. We haven't really paid attention to that, but I'll look into it.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to why it was part of the silver tsunami, if that had something to do with the aging entrepreneur.
In general, I'd say most of the people looking to buy are younger.
Most of the people are younger. And so the silver tsunami has to do with people wanting to retire. So if they're owning a business, they're retiring and selling their business. So they're leaving the workforce in that way. And Ash is telling me that we do have a trend of selling to the people that are buying are younger.
Okay.
Okay. And here's an example of it's easiest to talk about our work when we talk about our clients. And this is Third Planet. This is a retail store downtown that's been here quite a while. The owner wanted to sell, and this is Erica in the bottom there, and she had been working for some time. She came to us in August, wondering if she could do this. Could she make this purchase? And she worked with Sherry. And Sherry worked over 30 hours on the case, helping her find a good price, negotiate, and then put loan packaging together and projections. And now Erica's working with, and she'll continue to work with us in her new ownership. So that just went through last month. So I'm going to pivot now to the flood. So that's been a major focus of our work. So this November 2021 flood work. When we were at the Emergency Response Center, we were voluntold with Don from the sheriff that we were going to be heading up the business recovery, which is great. It was great to do. So we decided we wanted to put a task force together. So the members are listed there. And this was co-led by the Port, Jen Novak, and with Maura Ingram from the Whatcom Community Foundation. And what we did, we had 5 areas we wanted to focus on. The first was information dissemination. We wanted to make sure there was a one-stop shop where we were educating the public about what was going on for the business public. And the SBDC hosted that site. And the next we wanted to do is, how are we going to know where these businesses are? So Jennifer, who's fantastic, by the way, worked with Mike Paella from the county, and they decided to tackle this data effort where they mapped on GIS the whole flood map, and then they overlaid it with Department of Revenue data so we could see where the businesses were that may have been affected, and to create an outreach plan, which then Ash took and ran with, as we'll talk to you about. And another goal was peer learning and counsel, and this was really where Maury shined and took some leadership. We've never done this before. This is the biggest disaster in Whatcom County. We had such a steep learning curve, and so we talked to people in Florida, we talked to people in Louisiana, and they helped us, one of them, expectation setting, and then just helped us look at different options and shared with us how their path forward. And we need to identify and create financial resources. One of the things we learned early on is that this all takes time, right? Even when we got the presidential declaration, there's no grant-free money available to businesses at the time. They did, with the declaration, have an SBA disaster loan they could avail themselves of, but they need to prove that they could repay that loan and qualify for that loan. So you can imagine that was a wee bit challenging for some of the people we were trying to assist. So Maura Ingram from the Whatcom Community Foundation raised money, and she started seed grants of $5,000 to all the businesses that applied and qualified. And then what we did was we put out formal task force reports, and talked about our work and what we were learning, and I'm sure a lot of the commissioners got them. And we just kept at it and kept talking to legislators, and not wanting people to not look away. This is still happening. And Alicia Rule picked it up and started working with us, and she worked on some legislation and ended up getting $20 million for the state in disaster recovery. 10 million of those is earmarked for this disaster. And Ash is going to talk to you a little bit about how she helped get those monies out. There's still a lot of work to be done structurally on that issue. And then finally, we created some long-term and structural recommendations for future, hopefully none, but maybe future disasters. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ash Ryder now to talk a little bit about the flood.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ash Ryder. I am a certified business advisor with the Small Business Development Center at Western Washington University. As CJ mentioned, we had sort of two pushes where we did flood assistance. She's talked about what happened in January of right after the flood happened, 2021, and then or 2022, sorry. And then I'm gonna speak a little bit more about the most recent work that we've been doing in 2023. This is my slide. So I'm not going to read this slide to you. The highlights are basically we worked very hard to provide direct technical assistance to any sort of business that wanted it or had questions or wanted more in-depth assistance. And then I'm going to share with you about why this work matters, because a lot of times what we don't capture is the human side, the impacts of what 75 hours of direct assistance can do for a grant. So through our partnership, we work closely with the port, with Don Goldberg's team. They shared a list of businesses that hadn't applied for the grant that had reported damages. And so we took that list and we started reaching out directly to those businesses. Quite a few of those folks weren't aware of the grant. They weren't sure if they qualified. And really importantly, they weren't sure if it was worth their time, because the assistance that is available is really limited. It's often very competitive, and it can take hours and hours of work. And when you're dealing with your business recovering, the trauma of the flood event itself, it can be a toss-up as to whether or not it's really worth your time. Since these dollars were devoted directly to the counties that were affected, so Whatcom, Skagit, and Clallam counties, basically anyone who qualified and applied, there was a very good chance they were going to get dollars. So we were able to talk to folks about that and help them understand it. Having a dedicated contact is extremely important. As someone who is fulfilling that role, these are some of the things that I saw. A lot of times people were super overwhelmed, like I said. They couldn't necessarily understand the technical pieces, and so talking to them about the actual application itself and what it means to provide the documentation required and how easy or hard it is helped a lot of people decide to apply. And then one of the other things that was really important was that people didn't necessarily understand all of the categories that were included in damages that could be reported for the grant. So I might talk to someone who said that they had $80,000 in losses, and then as I ask more questions and talk about the lost income and things like that, it turns out that maybe it's more like $200,000. And so with that, they were able to put the higher number down, and in a lot of cases, that meant that they received a much larger grant award, which was really excellent for them. And one of the other things that's really great about a dedicated contact is my whole job is to help people with any barriers that might come up. So using technology, that's a real barrier for some folks. Access to computers, also a very real barrier. And then language can be another thing that might prevent someone from getting assistance that actually would really greatly benefit from it. So then for Sumas itself, it was devastated by this flood. It is still recovering. And there are murmurs of a critical number of businesses that might just be forced to close. They had a smaller flood, the pandemic, and then the large flood that just that happened in November 2021. So with all of that, there's just not any cash left to keep the businesses going. So, and also residents haven't been able to move back in the numbers that they were there, so it's compounding issues for them. So these dollars that came from this most recent grant, they are making a huge difference in that community because they're going direct to the business owners. They don't have to repay it, and it's something that they're all very eager to put into their businesses and get back on their feet as much as possible. So I also want to say a couple of things about the caliber of the people that I've worked with in Whatcom. I've been completely humbled in doing this work because almost everyone that I talk to says, well, if I apply, does that mean that my neighbor won't get something? Because I know that my damage was bad, but I know that other people's was worse. And so just the fabric that connects this community has really been amazing to witness. We've had folks who've received grant letters. It's still in the process. Some people have been notified that they received something. Other people are still waiting to find out. And they cry, they express disbelief, they say that it's absolutely life-changing. And I'm going to leave you with this quote on this topic from one of those people. They said, "Thank you to all involved from the bottom of our hearts." And they very much meant it. So with that, I'm going to go to our final slide on our kind of overall work that we do. So this is the end of our 2022 outcomes. And one thing that's important to know about this is we only report outcomes that our clients attest to. So all of these have directly come from clients that say, yes, the SBDC will help me do this. So we have 643 jobs created or retained, 17 new business starts, and new capital of $11.3 million. And with that, I'm going to hand the floor over to Dr. Liliana Deck. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to share our work with the underserved population of small business owners of our community. In my position, I'm supposed to say Liliana Deck, Western Washington University, SBDC. In my position, I get to bring my personal and professional experience supporting communities farther from opportunity by removing barriers and closing gaps. The welcome response from trusted leaders in our community and the Latino-owned businesses emphasizes the critical need for culturally competent Spanish language advising that goes beyond transactional, trying to build relational communities. Not everyone experiences Whatcom County in the same way. There's a rich cultural diversity in our county, our city, and our state. I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity and the privilege to work closely with newcomer communities as they establish themselves in our beautiful county and contribute to the economic development of the region. These newcomer communities experience barriers that are very different for those people who have been here a long time. To reach and connect with the underserved small business owners of our area, we have a community engagement strategy that covers 3 years: informing, persuading, and reminding. In 2023, we're focusing on informing the Latino-owned businesses, leaders of our community, that we're here to help start, grow, and manage their business. We tell them that we do this with our advising that is confidential, accessible, reliable, and at no cost to the client. We do this in a culturally relevant manner, accounting for the diversity of this group. In 2024, we move our tactics to persuading the Latino-owned businesses that we can support the entrepreneurial dreams by providing advising that it's unique to their situation. In 2025, we continue the tactics of 23 and 24. We add another component, is reminding the established businesses that we're here to support their expansion, acquisitions, or sale of their businesses. We understand that building intergenerational wealth is very important for newcomer communities. Please keep in mind that these 3 tactics are not isolated. It's an ongoing cycle. The idea is to meet the clients where they are in their journey as a startup, a growing business, or a mature business. In the last slide, I provided the information of the when and the where of our efforts. On this slide, I want to focus on the why. We're going from the transactional to the transformational. All the clients that come to the SBDC are not the same. There's a big diversity. My sample right now is too small to draw any conclusions, but my current data suggests several trends that underserved populations in our community are experiencing. Using the fall of 2022 report from the Department of Commerce, the barriers experienced by underserved small business owners can be placed in 3 categories: time, trust, and technology. For the time category, we have learned that advising businesses, clients require being flexible with scheduling and time management. For instance, the addition of a cell phone that has WhatsApp capabilities has helped not only with the scheduling and real-time communication, but with access to technology. Another factor to consider is that for English language learners, the counseling sessions take a little bit longer than our typical clients. For the category trust, we have connected with trusted leaders in our community. That includes business owners, places of worship, educational institutions, and social networks that were established before my time at the SBDC. In the technology category, there's a wide range of literacy and accessibility. So for instance, in one business, there's diversity of literacy in English, Spanish, and digital literacy. This diversity also includes multi-generation and gender. Summarizing our engagement strategy, we're working in 3 different fronts at all the time. You can put this into 3 categories: reading, listening, and watching. Using this approach, we cover all levels of literacy in multiple languages, as well as multiple ways of learning information. We are providing all of this while we do our technical advising and running a business and accounting for the rich multicultural diversity of our region, with multi-generational workplaces using culturally relevant communication. This presentation reflects just a few months of my job in the field. It's too soon for me to tell right now, but I continue to focus with the matters at hand, where trust, time, and technology remain barriers for those populations that we have not served before, but with the conviction that we can make our community stronger, one business at a time. Thank you.
If we have time, we can take any questions you might have.
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'll open it up to questions from my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Bell, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just find it interesting that you highlighted the WhatsApp as a key tool in that process. Is there a reason why that particular communication application is significant?
It is. A lot of our clients don't have access to a full-time computer. They might share one as a family. So having, for instance, my business card has a QR code. They can scan the QR code. It goes to their website. And for communication, I can distribute information quickly via their cell phones versus computers. So it's a lot easier for digital access and breaking the barriers down.
That's all I've got. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Briscoe.
It's very evident that the work being done through the SBDC is very, very important to our community and our county, and actually to our state. And I'd like to just thank the folks that are involved there, all the group, for what they do. And keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, and I'll echo that. You know, it really shines that, you know, the level of customer service we're providing when, you know, we hear those examples of calling individual businesses that may have been impacted but not known all the, what it takes to access some of these funds. I know there's just been a mountain of information that comes out, and sometimes it's just overwhelming to sift through it and figure out where you can fit in and what it really takes to accomplish that. So it goes to show how dedicated our team is and our partners in making those personal connections that make a difference to people. I had a couple questions about the outreach with the Latino community. I think this is something that we've had an opportunity to do for some time, and I'm really thrilled to see it being worked on. I think it's, we see lots of, for individual homeowners trying to find people to come and work on their properties, to service their equipment. All of these parts of our economy are really pressed. We don't have enough businesses in many of these sectors of our economy to provide what the community is asking for. There's long waits for people to work on, home construction projects, new projects, all sorts of service things. Many of these have long waits for consumers, and so I welcome more businesses into that mix to provide more opportunities. And I think growing these underrepresented business owners is really important. So a couple questions. One, what can we do to support this work and expand the reach of what you're working on? And do you plan to have targeted outreach to other communities of color who may also be represented in the future?
So, thank you. For the first question, what can we do? I think having meetings like this, having the networks, there's a network that already exists for the newcomer population. So tapping into those social networks, established places, schools, any community center is part of our community. So that's what I'm focusing my efforts right now. So meetings like this validate our work. So thank you for just listening to what we're doing. And for the second part, what
was the second question, Jill?
Other groups of people outside.
So this is more like a pilot project. So when I talked about underserved populations, it's not just the Latino-owned businesses, but that's where my experience is and where my research is. So we're trying to do this. I can't speak for other communities, but this might be a template to be adapted for different communities if we were to have that representation. At this moment, it makes a lot of sense because of the numbers that we have in our community, established multi-generational households with businesses that are up and running or wanting to do a business.
Yeah.
So it's a pilot if you think about it.
No, I think that makes sense. And I hope we can find ways to get you more help. It's a big project. It's going to take time, and building that trust is really important. And there's a really significant opportunity there.
One of the things I do want to say that the commonality in a lot of the different cultures that we're trying to reach is the sociocentric difference than in our culture, right? So there's a lot of family support, families working in the business, a huge network that already exists where they're loaning each other money and assisting each other. And one of the goals is to honor that for sure, but then also help them feel comfortable in structures they might not have felt comfortable in before. So different from banking to Liliana's going to marketing meetings and branding strategies with consultants. So, and so in that way, I really feel like there's the work that she's doing is going to serve as a really great template. And then in terms of expanding the work, I think we're there, in terms of scale. It's time to do that, and we're working on different ways we can do that. Certainly, we don't need, every person doing this work being a PhD, right? So how are we going to scale that? And honestly, a lot of this work is so relational and time-consuming, and in order for us to meet some of the targets for our program, we have to balance that work, and so we've sought additional funding, and a lot of this funding is from grants from First Federal and the Wells Fargo and community reinvestment dollars, and we're actively involved in those communities to keep fundraising to do this important work. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, I'll trust you'll keep us informed if there are other opportunities for us to support you in this work, and Dawn will be a good conduit for us in the future.
Yes. Working with Dawn's awesome.
Thank you so much. Our second presentation is Quiet Sound Whale Report Alert System, and Kurt Baumgartner.
Let's see here if I can make this work. I noticed my colleague Greg got my screen. Let's see if I can get this back here. Ah, there we go. Okay, how's that on the AV? Good, great. Good evening, Kurt Baumgarten, Port of Bellingham environmental planner. So I don't think it's an understatement to say we're going to shift gears a little bit here. And this is really just a brief informational for commissioners, just to let you know just something that's going on, something the port's been tracking, and a way to kind of get the word out about an interesting initiative. So just a little background on what Quiet Sound is and the Whale Report Alert System and how those two things tie together, what the nexus is to the port, and then what some possible outreach opportunities are as well. So the goal of Quiet Sound, which is it's a group housed within oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank here, the Blue, help me, Brian, the Maritime Blue, excuse me, not Blue Coalition, Maritime Blue. Their goal is to better understand and reduce cumulative effects of acoustic and physical disturbance from large commercial vessels, and this would be, your ships, tugs, ferries, on southern resident killer whales. And so to that end, in 2018, the governor signed an executive order, and he established a task force. And somewhere around 2019 is when I started tracking this on behalf of the port. And specifically, I sat in and kind of was part of this development. Well, I wasn't part of the development, but I was part of some meetings where it was discussed. And it was this recommendation 22, and it was out of 49 recommendations to help with the situation of the southern resident whales. And it was basically to look at shipping noise reduction initiatives and work with our Canadian partners. And so by 2021, Quiet Sound was created and funded, there it is, within the Maritime Blue organization structure. And Port of Bellingham is a member of Maritime Blue, so that's one of the nexus that I'll touch on here briefly. And so you can see the planning team members are quite diverse for this type of initiative, from Seaport Alliance to the larger ports, tribes, federal agencies, Washington State ferries. And so the objective tonight is just to explain this tool that we would be looking at letting some of the port community know about. And what we have is a way for the community boaters to report whale sightings through as simply as using an app on their phone. And that information can be done through 3 different ways. The one I'm talking about more tonight is the whale report alert system that it eventually gets fed into and comes out. But there's the Orca Network whale report app, and then a whale alert app, which I believe is through NOAA. And then what happens is once this gets into a central database, professional mariners, if they're in proximity of whales out in the Salish Sea, would be able to voluntarily decide if slowing down or altering course is appropriate. And so this has been done in Canada now since about, I think, 2018 through a program called the ECHO program. And they've had upwards of 90+% participation by voluntary participation by commercial vessels, which resulted in not only a slowdown of vessels, but also what they might call a lateral displacement, where they actually changed their trajectory through the straits. And so just to kind of look at it, I stole these pictures from the websites. Don't thank me for putting this together like this. And basically, you see the whale, you report it on your app, that simply, and then with some information so they can corroborate different sightings, and then it gets verified, and then it goes out to somebody either on the bridge of a ship or to a central. Depending upon how the company operates, they might go to a central location where it gets then pushed out. And then the mariner has the option of providing feedback as to whether they, what actions, if any, they took. So it kind of completes the loop there. Another nexus to the port is that we recently joined in on the Green Marine program. And so as you're likely aware, there are a number of performance indicators for that, and Adrian Hedges is managing that on behalf of the port and has been working with the various divisions on this. One in particular, indicator number 8, has to do with underwater noise, and there's fairly limited opportunities for the port to actually affect underwater noise. Some of that will come through permitting when we do various projects where there's pile driving, say, or something, and that's kind of baked into the permitting scheme. But then there's just sort of this promoting and raising awareness. And so 2.2 really gets to this specific tool, pretty much by name. And so through the folks at Quiet Sound, they've been reaching out to various ports and asking that we just kind of help get the word out about this app and how it's used. And so that's really kind of why I'm here tonight, is just to let you guys all know about that. And so some options for that outreach we've kicked around would be marina newsletters, social media, just, terminal staff talking with, the various tug operators or whomever, just to make sure they're aware of this. There's pretty good awareness of it right now out and about for the professional folks. It's really a lot about just getting the word out about people who might spot whales from recreational vessels and also from shore. Working Waterfront Coalition, that's obviously another good touch point for this. And then, we'll be looking for other venues as well. So I think that is it in a nutshell. Have to have the orca shot there. And then let's see if I can do this right to get out of here. And, oh no, actually, I think I just need to actually escape, right?
Okay. Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah. Any questions?
I'll see if there are any questions. Commissioner Briscoe, do you have any questions? Comments?
No, I have none.
Commissioner Bell?
No, I can see the future. Electrification is going to really dramatically reduce the amount of noise. I'm just kind of wondering, Kurt, if you know any other mitigation efforts on behalf of maybe quieting down the boats themselves. Are there any physical recommendations coming out of this for design changes or something other than the app or something other than route?
Well, so I think from what I've learned is it varies a great deal by the vessel. Some of the noise is actually from the propeller and how the propeller is designed, and I think they're always looking at that. But some of it is actually just, like you're getting to with the electrification is through the engine noise. And so between the speed of the propeller and the engine noise, apparently reducing the vessel speed by reducing the RPMs of the motors actually does quite a bit. And it gets at, it was fascinating, there's like different decibel levels at which it can affect what the animals are actually hearing through their, the way they hear through sonar kind of, and it depends on how they're hunting, and so it depends on what the frequency is. There's a lot of science there. It's very interesting, but yeah, slowing down is a big one. I think they're just going to look at different hull designs, the cavitation from the propeller, and propeller designs.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay. And can the general public go and look at these to see whale sightings?
Good question. So the way it's supposed to work and by design is that it's kind of a one-way thing, right? Otherwise, you would be looking at creating, more people going
tourist attraction.
Towards the whales, right? And so that would be a little cross purpose to what this is for. So this is really it gets the information to a place where it can be quality controlled and made sure, that it is reporting what we need to report. And then it goes to the commercial mariner so they can actually do, because that's the target audience, is really the larger ships with the greater noise. I think recreational vessels are being dealt with on a different level as far as keeping, there's a lot of rules out there about how to keep away and safe. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Very good. Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our presentations, and we don't have any action items on our agenda today, so that includes our regular business. I'm going to move to end of meeting public comment. We'll see if you are on Zoom and wish to provide public comment, you can make yourself known. Not seeing anyone. Anyone in the room wishing to provide public comment? Not seeing anyone either, so we will move into our other business. Commissioner Briscoe, do you have any items for other business today?
Not today.
Okay. Commissioner Bell?
Me either. Nothing today.
Okay. I just have one item. We have Elliot. We have been asked to identify a recommendation for a name for our new parcel at 742 Marine Drive. And I understand that real estate has a couple suggestions and maybe a recommendation for us.
Yes, Elliot Smith, real estate director here at the port. I gave you the suggestions on a piece of paper.
Okay.
I don't have them in my head anymore.
I'll read them. The suggestions for us to consider are Port of Bellingham Marine Industrial Park, Birchwood Industrial Park and Upland Industrial Park. I want to see if my fellow commissioners have any comments on any of those name options. Commissioner Bell?
Well, I haven't had time to digest them. Can we opine on that later?
We certainly can. I'll just let you think about that, and maybe we'll bring this up at a future meeting for a formal direction.
Yeah, that would be great. The sooner we can make a decision, the sooner we can put a port sign on our new acquisition and begin leasing it out.
Elliot, is this something that has to happen with a formal commission action, or can we do this through Rob on email?
I think we could do this through Rob on email. It is a courtesy to ask you your opinion.
Great. I'll check with Commissioner Briscoe and see if he has any.
I would suggest that those names be emailed to us so we can look at them, because the second one you said, Commissioner Shepard, I didn't quite get. So
okay, the three options are Port of Bellingham Marine Industrial Park, Birchwood Industrial Park, and Upland Industrial Park. I happen to like Marine Industrial Park because it's on Marine Drive, and it highlights that we have marine businesses that may choose to locate there, which would be neat to see. So I'll just toss my vote at the moment is for Marine Industrial Park. I like the way that looks, but we'll look to circulate this on an email in writing so we can each take a look.
Actually, Michael, I'm going to take myself out of the mix and just say whatever you guys decide, all three of them work. So rather than, having an opinion, because it's just going to circulate it, you guys just pick the name that you think fits best, and I'll call it good.
Commissioner Shepard, I think I would go with your choice there. I think that fits just fine, and I think we need to move along with this so that real estate can get things done and things up and running. And I see our executive director is kind of rubbing his head. So, Rob, could you throw something in the mix here? Are we okay or what?
No, we're good. I don't think we need to name the buildings before we lease it out. So if you wanted to take some time, you'd certainly have that luxury. But I too like Marine Park. I think that's a good one, Marine Industrial Park. So, but you would have time. We can do leases without an official name.
I don't think I need to think on it anymore. I think Michael made a very good point there. So I would prefer we went with Michael's, Commissioner Shepard's call on this one.
Well, I think that name works well. I think you've heard from everybody that we're in agreement, or at least ambivalent.
Well put.
Monumentous, thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Okay, that's all my other business. Rob, do you have anything for us, or anyone else have any other business?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Okay. All right, with that, we are adjourned.